I was ready to do this, and then Vin Scully appeared on the screen. I'm going to go off script here for a second. First of all, boy, do I miss working with you. And to Alana Campbell, one of our producers at CBS, I don't know what to say. I cannot believe you got all those people to say such nice things about me. I can't see you out there, but you know I love you, and you're so talented. You have a great career ahead of you. You really do. I'm very grateful to Ken Agard and the Sports Video Group for this amazing evening. And my congratulations to tonight's class. I met most of you just tonight, but do have a history with a few. Jerry, before you made the move to Fox, and Ken, Woo Man, it was a pleasure working with you on a few Olympics. You are, obviously, as the video showed, you're brilliant at what you do. And Doug Wilson, you set the standard for all of us who came after you and covered figure skating. So congrats to all of you. So growing up in the Virgin Islands had something to do with my being here. My dream was to be a Major League Baseball announcer. I was an avid Dodger fan, but I had to rely on Armed Forces radio to listen to games after the Dodgers moved to LA. There was virtually no television in the islands back then, maybe an occasional NBC game of the week from Puerto Rico, dubbed in Spanish. But it was radio for me, and the man who made it all come to life, Vin Scully. Yeah. During college, I had a summer job as a radio disc jockey and news reporter at our local St. Thomas station. However, it was at Boston University that I became more intrigued with behind-the-scenes production, which was a good thing because it was clear that I was never going to be good enough behind a microphone. My very first mentor was Robert Wessler, who hired me in 1972 as his production assistant in the CBS News Special Event Unit. Bob was a brilliant producer who covered everything that was important: space shots, political campaigns, election nights, and I was in the control room for all of it, first as a PA, then as an AD. And that was my entry in joining the Directors Guild of America and learning from director Joel Bano. Joel unknowingly was responsible for my very first directing assignment when he became ill the night before the Apollo 17 nighttime launch from the Cape. So there I was in Joel's place, directing segments for the CBS Morning News and overcoming my panic the first time I cued Walter Cronkite and realized I could do this. When Robert became president of CBS Sports in 1975, he brought me along, teaming me up with a young producer from Miami's WTVJ, Hall of Famer Mike Pearl. Mike and I did many shows together: the original NFL Today, Belmont Stakes, and most famously, the first ever live flag-to-flag coverage of the 1979 Daytona 500. Mike, thank you for all those memories and success we shared. You've always been like a brother, and so much you've done in your career. It's no wonder you're in the Hall of Fame. And a couple of years ago, you said to me I'd be up here one day, and I didn't believe you. And again, thank you. I've been fortunate to work with so many other talented producers. You all at various times in different decades were my CBS partners. Aside from Mike, it was mostly for many years on basketball and baseball, Bob Dekas. Bob and I did 28 Final Fours together, which I think may be some kind of a record for a producer-director team. Craig Silver on SEC football. Bob Monsbach and David Winter on tennis and football and Olympics. David Michaels on the NFL. Bob Stenner on NBA playoffs, auto racing, and horse racing. And today, as it has been for quite a few years now, my partner on the NFL and college hoops, Mark Wolf. Thank you, Wolfie. You've been a great partner and a great friend. I've learned from legendary Hall of Fame directors who guided me and spent time with me, even those from other networks. my CBS mentors, Sandy Grossman, Frank Chirkinian, Tony Verna, Joe Assetti, and from NBC, Ted Nathanson and Harry Coyle, who sat with me for hours in his living room to help me, a CBS guy, understand the pitfalls as I approached my very first baseball game. And I've tried to reciprocate by giving a little bit of guidance to the current CBS producers and directors who were once by my side in the truck, and to the BAs and the ADs who will join their ranks in the future. You guys are all such a big part of everything I've achieved. And a big thanks to Fox's lead basketball producer, Steve Shear, who had my back for more games than I can remember. The list of broadcasters I've had the pleasure of working with is a lengthy one, many of them Hall of Famers. Since my entire career has been at CBS, I've worked with just about every one of them. The majority of shows were with Brent Musburger, Vern Lundquist, Greg Gumbel, Ken Squire, Dick Stockton, Sean McDonough, and since 1986 with Jim Nantz, when he hosted his very first Final Four and has now called the action since 1991. And the color analysts, Billy Packer, Clark Kellogg, Dan Deerdorf, Terry Bradshaw, Jim Cott, Tim McCarver, Todd Blackledge, John McEnroe, Tony Trabert, and Mary. And of course, the legends that have left us, Pat Summerall, Jack Buck, Lindsey Nelson, Dick Enberg, and Jack Whitaker. And the pioneers for all the women in sports, Phyllis George, Leslie Visser, Andrea Joyce, Charles C. Canty, and Michelle Tafoya. And currently, I work with the guys who make me laugh every weekend on NFL Sundays, and who we lovingly refer to as the Bird and the Beard, the multi-talented Ian Eagle, and Hall of Famer Dan Fouts, along with our reporter Evan Washburn, who adds just so much to our broadcast. Then it's on to March Madness with Jim, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, and Tracy Wolfson. From September to April, it's just a blast to be with them all. I mean, let's face it, how can you not have fun when Raph is in town? Then there's Mr. Scully. Is it possible to believe that as a 10-year-old, listening to him call baseball games 3,500 miles away, that I would be his director for 2 seasons on in the NFL, some 20 years later? One Sunday in 1981, I brought his big blue Dodgers suitcase home with me after an NFL game in Atlanta, while he connected to Montreal for a 1-game playoff between the Dodgers and Expos. I would deliver that suitcase to his hotel after the Dodgers advanced, but not before my loving wife, Margaret, suggested, jokingly I think, this was my chance to open his suitcase and sleep in his pajamas. Another reason I was so thrilled to see that Alana found him, tracked him down. For the record, I didn't, but a year later, after telling that story at a Sunball party, Pat Hayden, who I also work with, presented me with a gift that has hung in my office for 38 years. Yes, pajamas signed by Vin. After Bob Wessler left sports to head CBS Entertainment, the reins were handed to Barry Frank. I'm very sorry that Barry passed recently. I wish I could have thanked him again, because he was the one who promoted me to director after my first year on the NFL Today as an AD. And my gratitude also to Neil Pilson for his guidance and friendship, and most importantly for his support when I needed it most. Many of you here tonight reached out to me and Margaret while I received my bone marrow transplant in 1990. That we will never forget. Our executive producer at that time, Ted Shaker, made it clear that the only thing that was important, that the events I missed would still be there once I was back to work and 100%. Thank you, Ted. Never forget that. And on that note, I'd like to recognize my friend and hero, Dr. Steve Fruckman, who gave me my life back. On that note, there's a young producer at CBS who, too, is going through a tough treatment right now. yet still comes to work creating special stories. If you saw the emotional feature about Jim Kelly on Thanksgiving, that was the work of Gareth Hughes. Gareth, I know I speak for all your friends when I say that we admire your strength and we want you to get well soon. I also was blown away this evening. I saw so many of my colleagues from CBS, past and present, who came here. You've all been part of my work family for a long time. And Sean, your leadership and support that you, David, Harold, and Steve, and our technical management team give us each week is not taken for granted. You push us to excel, and we are better for it. And your comments and those of my colleagues in tonight's program touch me profoundly. And to my friends at Turner Sports, you guys have been great partners doing basketball with you through the last few years. My thanks also to Bob Rosen, Craig Foster for representing me when I became a director. We were together for many years. And now for the last decade or so, Todd Musburger, who has always given me good advice besides being a good friend. I'm glad that our friends from near and far are here to celebrate. And of course, so happy that my mom Louise is here. And of course, the rest of my family sitting over there are here as well. To our twins, the Twin Towers as we call them, Andy and Matt, who graduate this spring, Mom and I are beyond proud of you guys. You have grown up to be everything parents could hope for. And Margaret, the love of my life for more than 40 years now, you have been there for me always and got us through the worst year of our lives. And I admit to you tonight, in front of all these people, I should have opened that suitcase and slept in Vin's pajamas. To be recognized by my peers means the world to me, but awards don't go often enough to the most important people in a director's career, and that's the technical crew. I'm sure every producer or director in this room would tell you the same thing. They are responsible for much of what we get credit for. They have long and demanding setup hours, many days away from families, packing up all the equipment, till they have to do it all over again a few days later in another city. Without these men and women, a director has nothing, and I've been blessed to work with the best of the best. I can't name them all, but some were with me for 30 to 40 years and recently retired. We started together as kids. You guys know who you are, and I hope you know what you all mean to me. Again, to the SVG, for raising funds to those in need. It's just wonderful work, and I'm glad to be a very small part of it. And again, to Ken and your whole organization, it's been awesome. I'm going to leave you with one thing. And I'm ad-libbing this, so I hope I get it right. So you saw a little video there about some of us playing guitar. We have a little band on our crew, and we play every now and then. And I named them Fade to Black, which was appropriate, I thought. Until at one camera meeting, one of our camera women, Janice Murray, who I've been working with forever, I love her, but she never says anything. And one day at this camera meeting, she just said out of nowhere, "I've got a better name for you guys. You should call yourselves the Megabytes because you have no gigs." I was worried about that one. I didn't know if that was going to get a laugh or not. But listen, I am so honored. I'm so blessed. This is just an incredible, incredible night. I'm glad my family's here to share it, my friends. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you. How many times must God say?